You're in the middle of a great conversation. Maybe it's with a new acquaintance, a colleague during a coffee break, or even on a promising first date. Everything is flowing. The connection feels real, and you're actually enjoying yourself. And then it happens. A question is asked. An opinion is sought. It's your turn to speak. And there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like a switch has been flipped inside your head, plunging your thoughts into darkness. The words you were about to say have just evaporated. Your mind, once a bustling city of ideas, is now a barren wasteland. You can feel their eyes on you, waiting. The silence stretches, growing heavier and more awkward with each passing nanosecond. If this has ever happened to you, I need you to hear this loud and clear. You are not broken. You are not unintelligent, and you are not terminally boring. Your brain isn't failing you. It's doing something incredibly specific and protective. For years, people I've worked with have pointed to this exact moment, this mental freeze, as one of the most torturous parts of social anxiety. But what if I told you this experience isn't just anxiety? What if it's a hardwired survival response? In this video, I'm going to show you the real scientific reason your mind goes blank, a phenomenon rooted in your brain's threat response system. We'll explore how social pressure can literally hijack your thinking brain, and most importantly, I'll give you a simple, powerful set of techniques grounded in neuroscience to keep your mind online and engaged when it matters most. Before we get into the science, we have to acknowledge why this experience cuts so deep. It's so much more than a momentary memory lapse. When your mind goes blank in a conversation, it feels like a total system failure, and the emotional fallout is brutal. Let's be honest, it feels humiliating. In that silent moment, a tidal wave of negative self-talk crashes over you. Your inner critic goes into overdrive. You have nothing to say. You're not interesting enough. They can see right through you. They think you're an idiot. Every second that ticks by feels like an eternity, reinforcing that deeply held fear that you are somehow fundamentally flawed in social situations. This experience becomes a data point, a piece of evidence that your anxious brain stores away for later. The next time you're in a similar situation, your brain pulls up this memory and says, "See, this is dangerous territory. Remember last time? We froze. We failed. Let's not do that again." And so it creates a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. You fear your mind will go blank. That fear creates intense pressure, and that pressure becomes the very trigger that makes your mind go blank. It's a uniquely painful form of self-sabotage. You desperately want to connect, to share, to be part of the flow, but your own mind slams the door shut. This isn't just about forgetting a word. It's about feeling like your core self has vanished, leaving an empty shell behind. This feeling of inadequacy can make you want to avoid social situations altogether, retreating into a world where you don't have to face that terrifying, silent void. It convinces you that safety lies in silence and avoidance, robbing you of the human connection you crave. Understanding this pain is the first step, because only by validating how genuinely awful it feels can we begin to dismantle the mechanism that causes it. So what is actually happening in your brain during these moments? For a long time, the simple answer was, it's just stress. But the real story is far more complex and, frankly, far more interesting. It's time to move past the idea that you're just broken and understand this as a distinct neurophysiological event. First, let's look at your brain's ancient survival wiring. Deep inside your brain is a structure called the amygdala, which acts as your threat detector. Its job is to constantly scan your environment for danger. For our ancestors, this meant spotting a predator in the bushes. For you, in a social setting, the threat can be the fear of judgment, rejection, or saying the wrong thing. When you feel that social pressure, your amygdala can't tell the difference between a real physical threat and an emotional one. It just screams, danger. This triggers what's known as an amygdala hijack.
Your brain is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, activating the fight, flight, or freeze response. Here's the crucial part. These stress signals have a dramatic effect on your prefrontal cortex, your sophisticated modern part of your brain right behind your forehead. The prefrontal cortex is your thinking brain. It's responsible for executive functions like logic, reasoning, planning, and accessing language. Under acute stress, your brain deliberately reroutes resources away from the prefrontal cortex to prioritize immediate survival. Your brain isn't failing. It's making a calculated decision that escaping a threat is more important than coming up with a witty reply. The result is that your prefrontal cortex essentially goes offline. Your working memory depreciates, making it hard to hold on to a thought, and your ability to retrieve words and formulate complex sentences plummets. This is the blank mind feeling. It's not that the thoughts aren't there somewhere, it's that the part of your brain needed to access and express them has been temporarily disabled. You're in a state of cognitive freeze, a biological defense mechanism. Recent research confirms mind blanking is a fundamental part of human cognition. Studies show it can be linked to changes in arousal levels, which can cause key cognitive mechanisms like memory and language to malfunction. In fact, when researchers observed people during mind blanks, they saw disruptions in sensory processing and even slow, sleep-like brainwaves in certain areas, a phenomenon some describe as local sleep episodes. Social anxiety doesn't invent this phenomenon, it just creates the perfect storm of high arousal for it to happen at the worst possible time. Now that you understand the fascinating neuroscience behind why your mind goes blank, you see it's not a personal failure, but a biological process. The crucial question becomes, what can we do about it? How do we prevent this amygdala hijack from derailing our conversations and our confidence? The solution isn't to just try harder, which, as we've learned, can actually make it worse. The solution is to work with your brain's wiring, not against it. In the next section, I'm going to walk you through 5 evidence-based strategies to do exactly that. But before I share these techniques, I want to give you something to help you practice them. I've put together a free one-page guide called the Conversation Re-Engagement Checklist. It summarizes the key strategies we're about to discuss into a simple, easy-to-use format you can review before any social event. I want you to download this free guide. It's linked in the description below the video. It's a powerful tool to have in your back pocket. So go ahead, pause this video and download it now, and then come right back.
Welcome back. You now understand the why, and you have the guide. Let's dive into the how. These aren't cheap conversational tricks. These are powerful techniques designed to regulate your nervous system and redirect your cognitive resources, pulling your brain out of that freeze state. Strategy 1, the outward focus shift. The single biggest trigger for the freeze response in social situations is intense self-monitoring. You're tracking your every word, analyzing your body language, and trying to guess what the other person is thinking of you. This internal surveillance consumes a massive amount of cognitive energy, leaving little left for actual conversation. The solution is to deliberately and forcefully shift your focus outward. Turn the spotlight you have on yourself and shine it onto the other person or your surroundings. Your new mission is not to be interesting, but to be interested. Get curious. Ask open-ended questions that go beyond yes or no. Instead of worrying about what to say, focus on what you can learn. Ask about their work, their hobbies, a movie they recently saw, or what's been on their mind. Why does this work? By focusing on them, you deactivate the self-critical part of your brain. You are no longer performing, you are exploring. This frees up the mental bandwidth that was being wasted on anxiety and makes it available for listening, processing, and generating natural responses. Strategy 2, master your arousal state. As we learned, mind blanking is triggered by a high arousal or intense anxiety. The key is to become a thermostat for your own nervous system, and the fastest way to do this is through your breath.
When you feel that high arousal state, your heart is pounding, your thoughts are racing, you need to actively down-regulate. Before you enter a social situation, or even during a pause in the conversation, perform a physiological sigh. This is a double inhale through your nose, followed by a long, slow exhale through your mouth. This specific breathing pattern is one of the quickest ways to offload carbon dioxide and signal to your nervous system that you are safe, which can instantly lower your heart rate and calm the stress response. If you're in a low arousal state, you feel foggy, tired, or disengaged, you need to gently upregulate. Sitting still can sometimes make this worse. If possible, suggest a walk and talk. The gentle physical movement provides just enough stimulation to increase alertness without triggering anxiety. If you're stuck sitting, discreetly press your feet into the floor or focus on the texture of the chair. This small sensory input can help anchor you in the present and keep your brain's attentional systems online.
Strategy 3. Rewrite your cognitive script. Your mind goes blank because an underlying hot thought has taken over. This is a core belief that feels 100% true in the moment, like, I will sound stupid, or everyone will see how awkward I am. You cannot defeat a blank mind without challenging the thought that caused it. This is a classic cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT technique. When you feel that panic rising, you need to catch the hot thought and consciously replace it with a more realistic and compassionate alternative. Instead of, I have nothing interesting to say, try, a simple observation or a question is a perfectly fine contribution. Instead of, they're going to think I'm weird for being quiet, try, people pause in conversations all the time, it's normal. They are likely more focused on what they will say next than on my silence. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about breaking the cognitive distortion that assumes the absolute worst-case scenario. Writing these alternatives down and reviewing them before social events can arm you against your own inner critic. Strategy 4. The power of the intentional pause. When your mind goes blank, your instinct is to panic and desperately scramble for a thought. This only digs the hole deeper. Instead, I want you to learn to use the pause intentionally. Own it. When you feel the freeze coming on, it's okay to tell the person your mind has gone blank. Or you can use a phrase to buy yourself time, like, that's a great question, let me think about that for a second. Then, in that pause, do a quick internal check-in. Don't search for a brilliant reply. Instead, simply name the emotion you're feeling. Okay, I'm feeling pressured right now. Research on a technique called affect labeling shows that simply putting your feeling into words activates your prefrontal cortex, which in turn helps calm the amygdala. After naming the feeling, ask yourself one simple question. What do I truly want here? The answer might be, I want to understand their point better, which leads you to ask a clarifying question. Or it might be, I want to share a related experience, which helps you access a memory. This brief, structured process interrupts the panic spiral and re-engages your thinking brain, bringing it back online to help you think clearly. Strategy 5. Run behavioral experiments. Your anxiety is making predictions about the terrible things that will happen if you stumble or pause. The only way to truly disarm this fear is to gather evidence that it's wrong. You need to become a scientist of your own social life. Start small, in low-stakes scenarios. With a trusted friend or a friendly cashier, intentionally share a small, imperfect story about your day. Comment on the weather. Ask a simple question. The goal is not to have a perfect interaction. The goal is to survive an imperfect one. Each time you have a slightly awkward pause and the world doesn't end, you are collecting data that disproves your anxiety's catastrophic predictions. This process, known as gradual exposure, builds your confidence from the ground up. You can also leverage what some researchers call the beautiful mess effect, where showing a little vulnerability, like admitting, wow, my mind just went totally blank for a second, can actually make people feel closer to you, not more distant. It proves you're human, which is far more relatable than being perfect.
So let's bring it all together.
That terrifying mental freeze, that feeling of your mind going completely blank mid-conversation, is not a character flaw. It's a neurophysiological event, an amygdala hijack that sends your brain into a protective freeze response, temporarily taking your thinking brain offline. This happens when the pressure of social situations is misinterpreted by your brain as a genuine threat. The path forward isn't to bully yourself into being a better conversationalist, it's to become a better regulator of your own brain. By shifting your focus outward, you turn off the internal surveillance that drains your mental energy. By managing your arousal state, you create the calm, balanced internal environment your brain needs to think. And by rewriting your thoughts and running small experiments, you build a mountain of evidence that you are capable, you are interesting enough, and you can handle the beautiful, messy reality of human connection. You are not broken, you are human. And you now have the understanding and the tools to navigate these moments, not with fear, but with grace and self-compassion. Thank you for spending this time with me. Don't forget to download the free conversation re-engagement checklist from the description below. If this video was helpful, please subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And leave a comment below. What's one strategy you're going to try first? I'd love to hear from you.